In 1991, New Jack City didn't just tell a crime story. It made $47 million on an $8 million gamble and turned its cast into overnight legends. But fame moves fast, and consequences move faster. One star would later go to prison. Another would face global humiliation. Others battled addiction, heartbreak, and sudden death. Now, in 2026, the empire they built on screen is long gone. But the real-life fallout is still echoing. So where are they today? Bill Nunn as Man. He was 37 years old when he appeared in New Jack City, playing the street preacher whose haunting repetition, idolater, cut through the chaos of Nino Brown's empire. Just 2 years earlier, he had delivered an unforgettable performance as Radio Raheem in Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee's explosive portrait of racial tension in Brooklyn. Through the 1990s and early 2000s, Nunn built a career on reliability and gravitas. A frequent collaborator of Spike Lee, he appeared in films like Mo Better Blues, 1990, and He Got Game, 1998. Then came a new generation of fans who knew him not from Brooklyn streets but from newsroom offices, as Robbie Robertson in Spider-Man and its sequels, standing calmly beside J. Jonah Jameson in one of the most successful superhero trilogies of its era. But behind the steady screen presence was a private battle. On September 24, 2016, Bill Nunn passed away in Pittsburgh at 63 after quietly fighting leukemia. His death shocked colleagues and fans alike. Few even knew he had been ill. Tributes poured in from across the industry, especially from Spike Lee, who called him family. By 2026, Nunn's legacy remains intact across decades of film history. His estimated net worth at the time of his death was around $4 million, modest by Hollywood standards, but his cultural impact was immeasurable. Man was a small piece of a crime empire story. Bill Nunn was part of something far bigger, the conscience of a generation on screen, gone too soon. Michael Michelle as Selena Thomas. She was just 24 when she stepped into New Jack City as Selena, ambitious, stylish, and emotionally entangled in Nino Brown's empire. Unlike the chaos surrounding her, Selena carried herself with composure, making Michael Michelle one of the film's quiet scene stealers. But even before 1991, Michelle had already experienced Hollywood's darker side. In 1989, she filed a lawsuit against Eddie Murphy, alleging she was dismissed from Harlem Nights after rejecting his advances. The case was later settled out of court for an undisclosed amount, an early controversy that could have derailed a young career. Throughout the 1990s, she built momentum with roles in Dangerous Minds, 1995, and later became widely recognized as Dr. Cleo Finch on ER from 1998 to 2002. In the 2000s and 2010s, she maintained steady visibility with appearances on Gossip Girl and as Dominique Devereaux on Dynasty. Unlike many peers, Michelle kept her private life largely out of tabloids, raising her son as a single mother while continuing to work consistently. In 2026, now in her late 50s, she remains active in television and independent film, with an estimated net worth around $4 to $6 million. Ice-T as Detective Scotty Appleton. By the time he walked onto the set of New Jack City in 1991, Tracy Morrow, known to the world as Ice-T, was 33 years old and already a controversial force in hip-hop. As Detective Scotty Appleton, he played a cop infiltrating a drug empire. The irony? His own life had once flirted with the very streets the film portrayed. Orphaned as a teenager, Morrow began receiving Social Security benefits at 17 after his father died. Struggling to support a pregnant girlfriend, he has openly admitted he sold marijuana and stole car stereos to survive. After serving 4 years in the U.S. Army, he later claimed on the Adam Carolla podcast that he participated in bank robberies in the early 1980s, describing them as calculated heat-style operations. He later remarked he was fortunate statutes of limitations had expired by the time he spoke publicly. But instead of prison, Ice-T found reinvention. In 1999, he joined Law and Order, Special Victims Unit as Detective Odafin Tutuola, a role he has held for over 25 years, making him one of the longest-running actors in television drama history. In 2010, he was mistakenly arrested due to an administrative error. Charges were dropped, and he later told young fans, "Street credibility is about staying out of jail." Now in 2026, at 68, Ice-T remains on SVU while balancing music, business ventures, and podcasting. His estimated net worth is around $65 million. Chris Rock as Pookie Robinson. When he stepped into New Jack City at just 26 years old, Chris Rock was still a rising stand-up comic. As Pookie, the jittery addict turned informant, he delivered one of the film's most heartbreaking performances. The role exposed his dramatic range, but it was only the beginning. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, Rock became one of America's sharpest comedic voices, headlining HBO specials and creating The Chris Rock Show. Films like Rush Hour, Head of State, and later his Netflix special Tambourine, 2018, cemented his influence. Yet offstage, turbulence followed. In 2008, Hungarian model Monica Zibrita accused him of rape stemming from a 1998 encounter. Rock denied the allegation, maintained the relationship was consensual, and DNA tests confirmed he was not the child's father. A related civil dispute was settled privately in 2012. In 2014, he filed for divorce from Malak Compton Rock after nearly 20 years of marriage. In later stand-up routines, he admitted to multiple affairs and a pornography addiction, publicly owning the mistakes that ended his marriage. Controversy resurfaced in 2019 after a meme about Whitney Houston drew backlash. Then came 2022. On the Oscar stage, after a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, he was slapped by Will Smith, a moment broadcast worldwide. Rock kept his composure, later addressing it in his 2023 special Selective Outrage. As of 2026 at 61, he remains a touring comic, actor, and producer with an estimated net worth around $60 million. Pookie didn't survive the streets. Chris Rock survived Hollywood, scandal, humiliation, and all, still standing at the microphone. Mario Van Peebles as Stone. Law enforcement had a different face in New Jack City, and in 1991, Mario Van Peebles was 34 when he stepped into the role of Stone, the determined undercover officer trying to dismantle Nino Brown's empire. Calm, calculated, morally driven. On screen, he represented order in chaos. Off-screen, he carried a legendary surname. The son of pioneering filmmaker Melvin Van Peebles, Mario grew up around revolutionary cinema. After acting in the 1980s, he broke out directing and starring in New Jack City itself, a rare dual role that proved his ambition behind the camera. He followed with films like Posse, 1993, and Panther, 1995, tackling black history and social themes. The industry expected him to explode into mainstream blockbuster territory. Instead, his career became steady rather than seismic, directing television, acting in projects like Ali and various series, building respect but not megastar status. In 2021, he faced a profound personal loss when his father Melvin passed away at 89. Mario publicly honored him, calling him a fearless, creative force who opened doors for generations. Now, in 2026, at 69, Van Peebles continues directing and mentoring emerging filmmakers. His estimated net worth is around $12 million. Judd Nelson as Detective Nick Peretti. By the time he entered the world of New Jack City in 1991, Judd Nelson was already 32 and already famous. A core member of the 1980s Brat Pack, he had defined a generation with films like The Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire. But Peretti was different, rougher, angrier, morally torn. It was Nelson shedding teen idol skin and stepping into darker territory. The 1990s didn't protect Brat Pack fame. As Hollywood shifted, Nelson's leading man spotlight dimmed. Big studio roles gave way to independent films, guest appearances, and eventually voice work, most notably as Hot Rod in Transformers, the movie. While some of his peers reinvented themselves into prestige careers, Nelson quietly drifted from the A-list conversation. In recent years, he has continued working in smaller projects and indie films, choosing privacy over publicity. By 2026, at 66, he is reported to live a quiet life in West Hollywood, unmarried, no children, rarely courting media attention. His estimated net worth is around $4 million. Flavor Flav as DJ Blink, and you might miss him in New Jack City. But in 1991, William Jonathan Drayton Jr., better known as Flavor Flav, was already larger than life. At 32, the Public Enemy hype man embodied raw hip-hop energy. His cameo wasn't about screen time, it was about presence. Born William Drayton Jr., Flav rose to fame as the clock-wearing hype man of Public Enemy, one of the most politically influential rap groups ever. By the early 1990s, he was part of hip-hop royalty, but behind the oversized persona was chaos. His legal troubles stretch back decades. Arrests related to domestic violence in 1991, 2012, and again in 2021. In 1993, he faced serious charges including attempted murder, later resolved through plea agreements. Substance abuse issues followed him through much of the 1990s and 2000s. Even fame's second wind, reality TV success with Flavor of Love, couldn't fully quiet the turbulence. In 2019, he welcomed a son, Jordan, with Kate Gamble. In 2021, he was arrested again on domestic battery charges, later pleading no contest to a lesser charge as more serious counts were dropped. Public disputes also erupted in 2020 when he clashed with Public Enemy over political messaging, briefly leading to his removal from the group. As of 2026, at 67, Flavor Flav remains a touring performer and pop culture fixture. Russell Wong as Park. In New Jack City, Russell Wong appeared in a supporting role at age 28. Not the loudest character in the room, but a presence that reflected the film's expanding criminal underworld. At the time, Wong was still carving out space in an industry that rarely made room for Asian American leading men. Born in 1963 in Troy, New York, Wong grew up facing racism firsthand. As a child, he was taught to ignore racial slurs from neighbors, advice rooted in survival. By the 1980s, when he entered Hollywood, barriers remained just as real. Casting directors often sidelined Asian actors to stereotypes, despite Wong's classic leading man looks and on-screen charisma. He steadily built credits through the late 80s and early 90s, but his major breakthrough came with Vanishing Son, 1994, where he played Jianhua Chang, a Chinese immigrant navigating exile and injustice in America. The project became a television franchise and positioned Wong as one of the few Asian American actors carrying an action drama lead at the time. Though he never became a mainstream A-list star, Wong worked consistently in film and television, including roles in Romeo Must Die and international productions. Now in 2026, at 63, Russell Wong continues acting across U.S. and Asian markets. Wesley Snipes as Nino Brown. In New Jack City, Wesley Snipes was 28 when he created one of the most iconic villains in crime cinema history. Nino Brown wasn't just a drug lord, he was ambition without conscience. The performance didn't just elevate the film, it launched a superstar. Throughout the 1990s, Snipes became a dominant action lead with films like Passenger 57, Demolition Man, and most explosively, Blade, 1998. As the half-vampire Daywalker, he helped pioneer the modern Marvel comic book blockbuster era years before it became standard. By the early 2000s, he was one of Hollywood's highest-paid action stars. Then came the collapse. In 2006, Snipes was indicted on federal tax-related charges, including conspiracy to defraud the United States and willful failure to file income tax returns. Prosecutors alleged he had submitted fraudulent amended returns seeking over $11 million in refunds and failed to file tax returns between 1999 and 2004. In 2008, he was acquitted of felony conspiracy and fraud charges, but convicted on 3 misdemeanor counts of willfully failing to file federal income tax returns. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison. After unsuccessful appeals, Snipes reported to federal prison in December 2010. He served approximately 28 months and was released in April 2013, later completing home confinement. Yet Snipes slowly rebuilt, appearing in The Expendables 3, 2014, Dolomite Is My Name, 2019, and returning to more selective roles. By 2026, at 63, he remains active in film and television, with an estimated net worth around $10 million, far from his peak, but far from finished. 35 years later, New Jack City isn't just a crime classic. It's a time capsule of ambition, power, scoot, and survival. Some of its stars built empires, some faced prison, scandal, or heartbreaking loss, and some are no longer here to tell their stories. If this journey surprised you, tell us in the comments which story shocked you most. And don't forget to like and follow for the next Then and Now that Hollywood never saw coming.